So, good afternoon. I'd love to introduce you to Christina Raven. Christina is a singing osteopath. Yes, look at that, skeleton. Not that you're a skeleton, your skeleton t-shirt, Christina.
No, sadly not. No.
Well,
Christina,
yes. Christina is an osteopath, and actually this week, so good timing, is 30 years of you becoming qualified, Christina. So lots of experience and knowledge. You currently practice from Old Welling and Hitchin as well, don't you?
That's right. Yes, I live in Old Welling and I have a treatment room here in my home, from whence I've been treating patients by Zoom sessions. And I also rent a room at the Harmony Clinic, which is on Bancroft. So if you know Hitchin, if you know Bancroft, there's the fancy dress shop and what used to be HET, Home Extension Team. Between them is a courtyard. So you go into the courtyard and then the entrance to Harmony is in the right-hand corner. So it's very close to the Sainsbury's car park. That's
yes, yes, I know, because I've been there and had treatment.
You have indeed, yes.
Yes, it's one of these things, isn't it? You don't need somebody until you need them. It's a bit daft, but I was vacuuming, and that's why I never do it anymore. And I bent down and I thought, oh, and I was in absolute agony. So I came to visit you, and you were amazing. It was just, I hadn't had, I mean, what is the difference, I suppose, one of the questions between osteopathy and physiotherapy?
And chiropractic.
And chiropractor, yeah.
Yes, indeed. So physiotherapy is particularly good on rehabilitation. And there'll be physiotherapists such as Sarah Kinsella in Stevenage who do hydrotherapy. And they will have particular training focusing on rehabilitating from sports injuries. Osteopathy and chiropractic are more closely related. Osteopathy was founded in America in the 1870s and by someone who was a doctor and a farmer. And the story goes that there was an outbreak of meningitis, and two of his own children died in this. But he'd gone to a house where babies had meningitis, distraught family, baby screaming, and he put the baby on his shoulder and was just kind of sort of soothing it, and then realised, oh, it stopped screaming, and not because it's died, but because it's feeling better. And he thought, how was what I was doing with my hands making a difference to this child's body, but its immune system started to work? So he went off and revisited his anatomy. Anyway, so cut a long story short, he set up the first College of Osteopathy in 1870. And the emphasis is very much on the importance of the circulation, of helping fresh blood come into parts of the body and taking waste products away. One of the very first students disagreed with him. He thought there should be more emphasis on the nerve supply. And so he went off and founded chiropractic, and they put more emphasis on manipulating the spine. So say if you have a knee problem, a chiropractor will tend to manipulate the part of the spine that relates to the knee, whereas an osteopath will look at the knee and look at the hip and look at the back. So in fact, I did actually write an article about this, which has been retweeted umpteen times by physios and chiropractors, as well as osteos, which I think is great. I tried to write it in a very neutral way. Obviously, it didn't say, well, I'm an osteopath and this is what I think. But it's a very holistic way of looking at the whole body and how all the different bits of the body work together. I've got one of these amazing tensegrity toys. And this is a wonderful example, when one bit moves, everything moves. And our bodies are like this. If you're standing and you shift onto one leg, you can feel, oh, well, my foot's working quite hard and there's a bit of a wobble going on at my shoulders. So I love the interconnectedness of everything in the body, and also the importance of the mind and the spirit. When things are getting particularly stressful, then we start adopting crash position, and the body tightens up, and then we're more likely to be injured, such as women who are premenstrual, because their hormones are rising and they're feeling and not entirely tolerant of their nearest and dearest. And So, and that's why injuries can happen, because the whole body just becomes less resilient, less supple.
Yeah.
And just recently, I had just as lockdown was relaxing, I had my car serviced. And it was that wonderful feeling when the car's been recently serviced. And it reminded me what patients say when they come to me for what I call an MOT. And they say at the end, well, when I came in, I felt fine. But now I feel fabulous. And that's the difference. Just having your body all the joints in your body just loosened up. Just say, I don't crack. I'm not one of the cracking osteopaths.
No.
I do muscle work and stretching out joints. And I also, of course, do cranial osteopathy.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because you mentioned about the babies, and I know cranial osteopathy is for all ages, but not many people do specialist babies, do they?
There are quite a few osteopaths who specialise in treating babies. I think most people who do cranial work will include babies. There are some osteopathic practices that really, really focus on babies. I like the range of ages. So I've done cranial osteopathy to patients in their 90s, as well as my youngest was 3 days old. At the moment, I can't remember. My oldest patient is certainly in her 90s. So, but yeah, the baby, mother had been through a 72-hour labour. And yeah, the baby was a bit battered, but we got her straight.
So with cranial osteopathy, is it a case of pressure points across, or
well, cranial is a bit of a misnomer, because it implies it's just the head. But in fact, the movement is happening throughout the whole body. So effectively, the whole time, whether awake or asleep, our whole body is going between being long and thin and short and wide. And it's doing this pattern kind of 8 to 12 times a minute. So the movement is most easily felt at the sacrum, the back of the pelvis, and at the head. So I quite often with patients, I'll have they're lying on their back with their knees bent, and so I will have one hand under their head and one hand under their pelvis, and just feeling how are these two ends of the central nervous system talking to each other, and the fluids that bathe the central nervous system. But you can feel it's happening in your toes, in your knees, hips, elbows. I remember I once had a patient who had been in a motorbike accident, and I'd sorted out his head injuries, his neck, his shoulder, his elbow, and he had an ache and a pain in the last joint of the left hand little finger. And I'd massaged it and I'd worked, and I thought, okay, well, let's listen to his mechanism. So imagine this is his little finger. I just had my hands either side of that end joint and just kind of tuned into what's the movement doing. Oh, and there's a twist. Okay, so if we just kind of help it unwind, and it did, and the pain went away and has never come back, despite subsequent motorbike accidents.
Yeah.
It was just great.
Once a biker, always a biker.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
So obviously, in terms of, lockdown and not being able to see people face to face, you're still doing quite a lot of stuff online. You've been doing, didn't you say you had somebody who came from somewhere abroad?
Exeter.
Was it Exeter? Okay.
In my detox program, I've had people in Germany and in Canada. But in terms of osteopathy, yes, I had a new patient who was in Exeter, and that was very shortly after lockdown had started. And we'd met through an online group for a course we were both doing. And she kept saying that she was lying down a lot. And I thought, well, have you got COVID, or do you have a bad back? I said, I've got a bad back, but my osteopath's not working. And I said, well, can I help? And so I went through we met up on Zoom. I went through my normal case history, and then it became clear to me that she probably had some problem with her pelvis, with her sacroiliac joints. And we kind of talked through why I thought that was the case. Oh, yes, you understand. And I gave her some really specific exercises to do. And yeah, she was delighted. So she just needed 2 sessions. That's brilliant. Yes, I've had a couple more new patients in places I wouldn't normally have seen. So Headington and Chalfont St Peters, and a couple of new patients in London who will come to see me in Sydenham once I'm working in Sydenham.
Reopened,
again.
yeah.
Yeah.
So how can people get hold of you, Christina?
Sure. So my website is www.yourbodyinharmony.co.uk. The harmony is because I'm also a singer and I studied music before I studied osteopathy. And my mobile number is 07535 350 343.
Now, very finally,
or you can follow me on Twitter at the Singing Osteo.
Well, that leads me into what I was just about to say, because within our WIBN groups, you are known as the Singing Osteopath. And why is that, Christina?
Christina Raven, the osteopath, helping your body sing into